Welcome to Dweller of the Dark.
We are wicked wizards demanding the resurrection of the yellowed and blackened bones of forgotten masters of horror, science fiction, fantasy, and beyond. Subscribe, comment, like, or I'll send the vampire Helen to rip your heart out. Writers, poets, songwriters, reach out to us if you want to be part of our growing pile of bones. Writing, ghostwriting services on Upwork and Fiverr. We've had a 98% successful completion rate for projects. Contact links below.
Children of horror, legion of ghouls. The season of Halloween has arrived. Each night, we will present a tale, song, or poem in the ghoulish spirit of the season.
For day 12, we proudly present Charles Beaumont's Blood Brother, devilishly devoted to horror and Halloween.
May your souls always be.
Blood Brother by Charles Beaumont.
Now then, said the psychiatrist, looking up from his notepad, when did you first discover that you were dead? Not dead, said the pale man in the dark suit. Undead. I'm sorry. Just try to keep it straight. If I were dead, I'd be in great shape. That's the trouble though. I can't die. Why not? Because I'm not alive. I see. The psychiatrist made a rapid notation. Now, Mr. Smith, I'd like you to start at the beginning and tell me the whole story. The pale man shook his head. At $25 an hour, he said. Are you kidding? I can barely afford to have my cape cleaned once a month. I've been meaning to ask you about that. Why do you wear it? You ever hear of a vampire without a cape? It's part of the whole schmear. That's all. I don't know why. Calm yourself. Calm myself. I wish I could. I tell you, doctor, I'm going right straight out of my skull. Look at this. The man, who called himself Smith, put out his hands. They were a tremulous blur of white. And look at this. He pulled down the flaps beneath his eyes, revealing an intricate red lacework of veins. Believe me, he said, flinging himself upon the couch. Another few days of this, and I'll be ready for the funny farm. The psychiatrist picked a mahogany letter opener off his desk and tapped his palm. I would appreciate it, he said, if you would make an effort to avoid those particular terms. All right, said the pale man. Would you try living on blood for a year and see how polite you are? I mean. The beginning, Mr. Smith. Well, I met this girl, Dorcas, and she bit me. Yes, that's all. It doesn't take much, you know. The psychiatrist removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. As I understand it, he said, you think you're a vampire. No, said Smith. I think I'm a human being, but I am a vampire. That's the hell of it. I can't seem to adjust. How do you mean? Well, the hours, for instance. I used to have very regular habits. Work from 9 to 5, home, a little TV, maybe, into bed by 10, up at 6:30. Now, he shook his head violently from side to side. You know how it is with vampires. Let's pretend I don't, said the psychiatrist soothingly. Tell me, how is it? Like I say, the hours. Everything's upside down. That's why I made this appointment with you so late. See? You're supposed to sleep during the day and work at night. Why? Boy, you've got me. I asked Dorcas, that's the girl that bit me, and she said she'd try and find out, but nobody seems to be real sure about it. Dorcas, said the psychiatrist, pursing his lips. That's an unusual name. Dorcas Schultz is an unusual girl, I'll tell you. A real nut. She's on that late TV show, you know? The one that runs all those crummy old horror movies. Smith scraped a stain from his cloak with his fingernail. Maybe you know her. She recommended you. It's possible, but let's get back to you. You were speaking of the hours? Smith wrung his hands. They're murdering me, he said. 8 fly-by-night jobs. I've had 8 and lost every one. Would you care to explain that? Nothing to explain. I just can't stay awake, that's all. I mean, every night. I mean, every day. I toss and turn for hours, and then when I finally do doze off, boom, it's nightfall, and I've got to get out of the coffin. The coffin? Yeah, that's another sweet wrinkle. The minute you go bat, you're supposed to give up beds and take to a casket, which is not only sick, but expensive as hell. Smith shook his head angrily. First, you got to buy the damn thing. Do you know the cost of the average casket? Well, began the psychiatrist. Astronomical, completely out of proportion. I'm telling you, it's a racket. For anything even halfway decent, you're going to drop 5 bills easy. But that's just the initial outlay. Then there's the cartridge and the cleaning bills. I don't. 75 to 100 every month, month in, month out. I'm afraid the grave dirt man, sacking out in a coffin isn't bad enough. No, you've got to line it with soil from the family plot. I ask you, who's got a family plot these days? Have you? No, but right. So what do? You go out and buy one. Then you bring home a couple pounds of dirt and spread it around in the coffin. Wake up at night and you're covered with it. Smith clicked his tongue exasperatedly. If you could just wear pajamas, but no, the rules say the full bit. Ever hear of anything so crazy? You can't even take off your shoes. For cry I. He began to pace. Then there's the bloodstains. The psychiatrist lowered his pad, replaced his glasses, and regarded his patient with a not incurious eye. I must go through 20 white shirts a month, continued Smith. Even at $2.50 a shirt, that's a lot of dough. You're probably thinking, why isn't he more careful? Well, listen, I try to be, but it isn't like eating a bowl of tomato soup, you know. A shudder or something like a shudder passed over the pale man. That's another thing, the diet. I mean, I always used to like my steaks rare, but this is ridiculous. Blood for breakfast, blood for lunch, blood for dinner. Ugh. Just the thought of it makes me queasy to the stomach. Smith flung himself back onto the couch and closed his eyes. It's the monotony that gets you, he said. Although there's plenty else to complain about. You know what I mean. Well, said the psychiatrist, clearing his throat. Filthy stuff, and the routines I have to go through to get it. What if you had to rob somebody every time you wanted a hamburger? I mean, just supposing. That's the way it is with me. I tried stocking up on plasma, but that's death warmed over. A few nights of it, and you've got to go after the real thing. It doesn't matter how many promises you've made to yourself. The real thing? I don't like to talk about it, said Smith, turning his head to the wall. I'm actually a very sensitive person. Know what I mean? Gentle, kind, never could stand violence, not even as a kid. Now, he sobbed rackingly, leaped to his feet, and resumed pacing. Do you think I enjoy biting people? Do you think I don't know how disgusting it is? But I tell you, I can't help it. Every few nights, I get this terrible urge. Yes? You'll hate me. No, Mr. Smith. Yes, you will. Everybody does. Everybody hates a vampire. The pale man withdrew a large silk handkerchief from his pocket and daubed at sudden tears. It isn't fair, he choked. After all, we didn't ask to become what we are, did we? Nobody ever thinks of that. You feel, then, that you are being persecuted? Damn right, said Smith. And you know why? I'll tell you why. Because I am being persecuted. That's why. Have you ever heard a nice thing said about a vampire? Ever in your whole life? No. Why? Because people hate us. But I'll tell you something even sillier. They fear us too. The pale man laughed a wild, mirthless laugh. Ha 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 ha! Us, he said, the most helpless creatures on the face of the earth. Why, it doesn't take anything to knock us over. If we don't cut our throats trying to shave, you know the mirror bit, no reflection. We stand a chance to land flat on our back because the neighbor downstairs is cooking garlic. Or bring us a little running water, see what happens. We flip our lids. Or silver bullets. Daylight? For crying out loud. If I'm not back in that stupid coffin by dawn, zow, I'm out like a light. So I'm out late, and time sort of gets away from me. And I look at my watch, and I've got 10 minutes. What do I do? Any other vampire in his right mind, he changes into a bat and flies. Not me. You know why? The psychiatrist shook his head. Because I can't stand the ugly things. They make me sick just to look at, let alone be. And then there's all the hassle of taking off your clothes and all. So I grab a cab and just pray there isn't any traffic. Boy, or take these. He smiled for the first time, revealing 2 large pointed incisors. What do you imagine happens to us when our choppers start to go? I've had this one on the left field, it must be half a dozen times. The dentist says if I was smart, I'd have them all yanked out and a nice denture put in. Sure. Can't you just see me trying to rip out somebody's throat with a pair of false teeth? Or take the routine with the wooden stake. It used to be that was kind of a secret. Now with all these lousy movies, the whole world is in on the gag. I ask you, doctor, how are you supposed to be able to sleep when you know that everybody in the block is just itching to find you so they can drive a piece of wood into your heart? Huh? Man, you talk about sick. Those people are in really bad shape. He shuddered again. I'll tell you about the jazz with crosses, but frankly, even thinking about it makes me jumpy. You know what? I have to walk 3 blocks out of my way to avoid the church I used to go to every Sunday. But don't get the idea, it's just churches. No, it's anything. Cross your fingers and I'll start sweating. Lay a fork over a knife and I'll probably jump right out the window. So then, what happens? I splatter myself all over the sidewalk, right? But do I die? Oh, hell no. Doc, listen. You've got to help me. If you don't, I'm going to go off my gourd. I know it. The psychiatrist folded his notepad and smiled. Mr. Smith, he said, you may be surprised to learn that yours is a relatively simple problem with a relatively simple cure. Really? Asked the pale man. To be sure, said the psychiatrist. Just lie down on the couch there. That's it. Close your eyes. Relax. Good. The psychiatrist rose from his chair and walked to his desk. While it is true that this syndrome is something of a rarity, he said, I do not foresee any great difficulty. He picked something off the top of the desk and returned. It is primarily a matter of adjustment and of right thinking. Are you quite relaxed? Smith said that he was. Good, said the psychiatrist. Now we begin the cure. With which comment, he raised his arm high in the air, held it there for a moment, then plunged it down, burying the mahogany letter opener to its hilt in Mr. Smith's heart. Seconds later, he was dialing a telephone number. "Is Dorcas there?" he asked, idly scratching the two circular marks on his neck. "Tell her it's her fiancé."
Thank you for listening. Have a great night.